Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for returning to the channel. I'm Paul, your host, here at RV Caravan with Us. Today we're going to visit the Glen Hayden Dam on Lake Powell in Page, Arizona. Listen and enjoy. I didn't narrate it. I'm not going to do much because the person they had at the dam did the most beautiful job I've heard in a long time. What you'll notice is it looks a lot like Hoover Dam.
What do you think this is?
And it sounds just like the narration they give at Hoover Dam. They also have a bridge on the other side of Hoover Dam that looks much like this one. But they're both on the Colorado River.
Except their water levels down.
This particular dam took more concrete and less time to build.
But this is part of the Colorado. Yeah, it's very interesting because you as you drive in, it looks just like the Hoover Dam, you know, and I don't mean like the Hoover Dam. I mean the formations of the rocks and kind of the overall feeling vibe of the dam.
The destination is on your right.
But then again,
Glen Hayden Dam.
I was in Nevada for 9 years, so. Yeah, you're right. Hey, not quite as spectacular, but equally as impressive in construction. The bridge is pretty impressive in itself. So let's go and have a look around. Huh?
I'm not going to say too much more. I'm going to let the video play out as it is, and I did an okay job on the filming, and the narration by the Parks Department was, you can't improve upon that. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're looking for a rally or tour, go on our website and check us out. We also have a products page for RV products that we use in our RV. You can find us on the World Wide Web. I'll put a link in there for our products page.
With you. A couple of things we want to go over before the tour begins. If you haven't had a chance to read the back side of your ticket already, take a moment, look on the back side. It's just some safety, security things that we want to make sure everybody's aware of. We're a little bit of a big group, so we want to remind.
Nice and cold.
We want to talk a little bit about the United States Bureau of Reclamation. This is their logo up there on the wall. Now, it's the Bureau of Reclamation who actually own and operate the dam. Part of the federal government. So it's the federal government that owns the dam. The government created the Bureau of Reclamation in 1902. And the reason they did was to manage the water in the western United States. They knew that without more water in the west, especially the southwest, we weren't going to be able to have the big cities. Las Vegas, Phoenix, Los Angeles, we needed more water. So they created that agency to manage the water. Part of that water management is the construction of dams. They built hundreds of dams all over the West. This is just one of them. Now, we do produce electricity. We have flood control because of the dam. There's lots of boating and recreation on Lake Powell. But the main #1 reason our dam is here is to store the water. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is a byproduct of storing water. Most of the water from the Colorado River still goes to farming and agriculture. About 80% of the entire river system goes to farming. Only 20% goes to homes, industry, golf courses, things like that. No water makes it to the ocean anymore. Every last drop of water from the Colorado River gets used up now before it gets to the ocean. So keep that in mind as we walk out there on the day.
Did not know that.
Well, here we are on top of Glen Canyon Dam. The Glen Canyon Dam project was a 10-year project. They started the project in 1956. They completed the project in 1966. The first 4 years of our project, that's all preparation time. You have to remember that before the dam was here, there was absolutely nothing here. It was a big giant wilderness area. No highway, no bridge, no town of Page, literally nothing here before the dam. So that first 4 years, that's when they had to build the highways, they built the bridge, built the town of Page specifically so that these workers would have a place to live. They built a school, they built a hospital so that the workers could bring their families. They also had to work on the canyon itself before construction could begin. The Colorado River flowed right through the middle of the canyon. They had to divert the river water. So they blasted 2 big tunnels on both sides of the canyon wall. And they built a small dirt dam upriver. That small dirt dam diverted the river water around the construction site through the tunnels so they had a dry place to pour the concrete, build the dam. So that's all part of the first 4 years, is all that preparation. Then in 1960, that's when they start to pour concrete, start building the dam. It took 3 years to build the dam, 1960 to 1963. This is one of the original concrete buckets that they used to pour that concrete. They had big cables that ran clear across the canyon. Those cables would carry the buckets back and forth and up and down so that they could get that concrete wherever they needed it here in the dam. Each one of the buckets holds 24 tons of concrete per bucket. And over that 3-year period, they poured more than 400,000 bucketfuls of concrete into the dam. Over 10 million tons of concrete. That's enough concrete to make a 4-lane highway from Phoenix, Arizona to Chicago, Illinois. Lots of concrete here in the dam. This is what they call a core sample over here. Every time that they mixed a batch of concrete, they had to test it for strength and quality. The way they did that, they would pour the concrete wherever they needed it here in the dam, let it get hard. Then they drill out this little section and they pressure test this little piece of concrete. So that's what the concrete in the dam looks like, is that test sample. That's the next 3 years. 1963, they've completed construction on the dam, start to hold the water in Lake Powell. That's when the lake starts to come up. But they're not making any electricity yet. So it was 1964 when they started to install generators to make the electricity. If you look over the side over here now, you can see where all these generators are all located today. Down in the bottom, there's a long rectangular building with a white roof on it. That long building with the white roof, that's the powerhouse. We've got 8 generators. They're all located in that same building. That's the building we're going to walk into a little bit further on the tour. The face of the dam that you see right here is 583 feet. That's 178 meters. From that green area down the bottom, that's grass. So from the grass to the top of the dam, 583 feet, or 178 meters. If you look down the bottom on the other side of the river, you'll see a parking area down there. On the right side of that parking area, there's a tunnel opening. That's a 2-mile-long tunnel. The other end of that tunnel comes out south of Page, kind of by where Walmart is. They originally built that tunnel for construction so that they could get equipment down to the bottom of the canyon. Today, they're just using the tunnel for maintenance. Also, underneath that same parking area, you'll see 4 great big gray tubes that stick out underneath that parking area. Those are called hollow jet valves. That's a way that they can release water from the lake into the river without going through the power generator. Kind of a bypass of the generator. Today, all the water that's being released is water that's coming right out the bottom of the powerhouse after it's generated electricity. Any questions about this so far?
How deep is this down here?
in the water in the river down
Yeah,
there.
right here.
Yeah, right below the powerhouse. It's about 50 feet deep.
So that's a big rock down there?
Well, yeah, no, it's not a rock. It's actually kind of a gravel bar. 1983 was a flood year. We had too much water in the lake. They opened up those 4 hollow jet valves to release extra water. They spray about 3/4 the way across the canyon. It dredged up gravel off the bottom of the river, redeposited upstream right there, formed that island. Been there since '83. Doesn't hurt anything, so they just left it there. Yeah. Watch your step on the curb right here. Let's walk over and talk about this big turbine a little bit. As a kid, Arizona didn't have a football team. They had to cheer for some other football team. Purple's my favorite color. I always cheer for the Vikings. Yeah. This is called a turbine. It's a Francis type turbine. This is the first step to generate the electricity from water. We've got 8 generators down at the bottom. That means there's 8 of these turbines. Each turbine powers 1 generator. So the turbine sets directly below the generator. Turbine's down here, generator's up above it. They're connected by a great big drive shaft. So as the turbine spins with the water, that forces that generator to spin. That's what makes the electricity. This is one of the original turbines that came from down at the bottom. These lasted about 50 years. They just completed the process 4 years ago of replacing all 8 original turbines. The new turbines are all stainless steel. They're about 5% more efficient than this older turbine. This is actually the bottom side of the turbine you're looking at right here. It's actually upside down. If you look in this picture right over here, you get a better idea of how this turbine sets down in the bottom. The white part of the turbine, that's the bottom. The water comes in from the side right here to spin that turbine around like that. Then that water drops straight out the bottom. This is the big drive shaft right here that would connect with that generator up above it. So the turbine spins, forces that generator to spin. Any questions about this process? Let's walk down here, look at Lake Powell, talk about our lake a little bit. My wife's family was kind of from St. Paul area a couple of generations ago. We were out there last summer and spent 2 weeks in that St. Paul area just looking at old homes and cemeteries. It was great in July up there. Yeah. No. Even the humidity wasn't that bad when we were there in July.
You lucked out then.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was expecting more humidity and it really wasn't.
Was there ever a design in this bridge to be driven on?
The dam itself?
Yeah.
No. Now, our bridge was built 3 years before the dam. It was completed first. All the public traffic has crossed our bridge. Now, there was one exception to that. Summer of 1978, they were putting a new road deck on the bridge. They did route public traffic across our dam that one summer. We do have highway access here. That's the only time public traffic's been down here on the dam. Yeah.
Is this rail along the outside edge for something that...
Yeah, we'll talk about that rail in just a second here. Well, you step up on this side, you see Lake Powell over on this side. Lake Powell is the product of Glen Hayden Dam. This is the reason we built the dam, was to store this water. Lake Powell is a long, narrow lake. The lake goes north of here 186 miles. That's 300 kilometers north of here. Most of Lake Powell's up in Utah. Today, our lake is 79 feet down below full. That's 24 meters down below full. Puts us right about 57% of capacity, a little more than half. You can see what full would be by that white mark on the canyon wall. That's the bathtub ring. That's what's left over from when the water was full. Then it came back down. It left that white calcium on the canyon. Our lake's been full 5 times. We filled up the first time in 1980. It took 17 years to fill the lake the first time. Then we were full in 1983, 1984, 1986, and 1999 is the last time the lake's been full. The lowest the lake's been was in 2005. In 2005, we were about 60 feet, about 20 meters lower than what we are today, only 30% of capacity when we hit that low point. Most of this water for Lake Powell comes from snowmelt. Snow in the mountains of northern New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, they get a lot of snow in the wintertime. We're going to get a lot of water in the lake. When the lake's full, it's really high on the dam. 15 feet, 5 meters below the top of the dam when it's actually full. Any questions about Lake Powell? So somebody asked about this metal rail here on top of the dam. There's one on both sides. At the far end of the dam down there, you'll see a big silver crane called a gantry. That big crane rolls along the top of the dam on these rails, and the next display down here shows us what we use the big crane for.
I don't suppose you know what the current capacity of Lake Mead is, do you?
They're pretty similar to us.
I'm only asking because I lived there and was the very first time they opened the spillways to let it out. And that was more than 20 years ago.
Yeah. 84 is the last time we've needed to open a spillway here.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it last time I saw the pictures how low it was.
You know, I'm an optimist. I think the lake's going to fill up again, but it's going to take 4 or 5 good snow years in a row to fill us up again. I think it'll happen, though. Well, if y'all stand where you have an opportunity to see this display, kind of make a semicircle around this display. This display shows us how we get the water from the lake down to the middle of the dam, into that powerhouse to turn those turbines, then the water goes to the river. Lake Powell on this side, cross-section of the dam right here. The blue tube is a 15-foot diameter pipe, 5-meter diameter pipe called a penstock. And it's that penstock that carries the lake water down through the middle of the dam, crosses underneath that grass area down the bottom, and then the water enters the turbine right here, spins that turbine round. Water drops out the bottom, goes to the river. We've got 8 generators. That means there's 8 of these penstocks. Each penstock powers 1 turbine. These buildings with the funny green roofs on them over here, those are the tops of each one of these penstocks right up here on top of the dam. There's a big gate that slides up and down on a rail right here. That gate will either open or close the penstock. Normally that penstock's always open. The only time that they generally close the penstock is if they're going to work on one of the generators down the bottom. They'll close that particular penstock. The big crane that rolls along the top of the dam on the rails, that's what they use to lift this gate up and out of the housing right here. Gate's a big steel rectangle, weighs 110 tons. And that's what that crane is for, is to lift this gate. Now, we talk a little bit about lake level, how low the lake is or how low it might go. If the lake level ever drops below the opening of the penstock, we just don't make electricity. We still release water because the opening for those 4 hollow jet valves that we looked at on the other side of the dam, their opening's a lot lower down on the face of the dam. But even in 2005, when the lake's as low as we've ever been, we were 30%, we were still up above the opening of the penstock. We've always been able to make electricity. But it is possible in the future, if the drought continues, lake level might drop below here someday. We might not make electricity. Any questions about this process? Let's get out of the sun. Let's go down, look at our bridge a little bit. We'll go down the bottom. January of 1959. The bridge was built in San Francisco, California. They pre-assembled the bridge in San Francisco. They put it all together to make sure the pieces fit properly. It was laying on its side in a great big field. Then they took it all apart again and they sent it out here. They sent half of the pieces to this side of the canyon, half of the pieces to that side of the canyon, and they built towards the middle. The bridge is 700 feet above the water level. That's 213 meters above the water is how tall that bridge is. Well, let's get on the next elevator. We'll go down the bottom. Look at these generators. Why is there grass down the bottom? Yeah. Just to look pretty. Just to look pretty is that grass. Go ahead. 128 feet. That's 161 meters, 53 stories. You watch these blue letters up here that are changing as we're coming down in the elevator. The dam's not one solid piece of concrete. There's miles of tunnels that run horizontally through the dam at different levels. Each one of the letters is a different level of a tunnel. They call these tunnels inspection galleries. And basically what they use the inspection gallery for is for maintenance. But they also use them to collect water. The dam itself does not seep very much water, seeps a little bit. But the sandstone rock wall of the canyon wall is relatively soft, porous rock. Lots of lake water seeps around the dam through the canyon wall. They'll collect a lot of that seepage water back in the dam in these tunnels. They'll channel the water back into the dam, channel that water on out into the river. That's a normal part of the operation. Water's always going to find its way downhill. When our lake's full, we seep 2,600 gallons a minute. About 7,000 liters a minute actually seep around the dam. Sounds like a lot of water, but compared to 9 trillion gallons of water stored in the lake, it's really not that much water. When you step off the elevator, take a minute to look up through the gap. You can see clear back to the top of the dam. You can also see the stairs on that side. If the elevator breaks down, those are the stairs you're going to climb to get back out. So take a minute, look up through this gap.
Climbing up to it, climbing down. Yeah, that's good.
Sure, it's got lights and tile, things like that to make it look nice. But if you go other places in the dam, it looks like it does here on the right. It's just bare concrete. All these miles of tunnels that run through the dam, they look like that one. The temperature's a little bit cooler down here. There's no air conditioning. This is all natural cooling. Temperature stays the same here all the time. Winter, summer, day or night, never changes. It's 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 12 degrees Celsius down here all the time.
Can I live here?
Huh?
Can I live here?
Yeah, especially this time of year. This is one of those inspection galleries, one of those tunnels that we pass coming down in the elevator. When you walk past, you'll notice a gutter down the bottom that's got water in it. That's that seepage water that they're channeling out of the canyon wall so that they can channel that water out into the river. It's a gravity-fed gutter system, works its way down through the day. And you can look at that when you walk past it. The bottom of the dam's much thicker than the top. Top of the dam's 25 feet thick. That's 8 meters thick at the top. Down here at this level, we're 300 feet thick. About 95 meters thick down here. Much thicker at the bottom than it is the top.
So can you run backwards too?
No, I can barely walk backwards. This is the only job skill you gotta have. You gotta be able to walk backwards. I can't even run forwards, let alone backwards.
Me either.
Whoa. Oh, grass.
Huh?
Grass.
Yeah, sure.
So who cuts the grass?
Oh.
And where do they bring?
Down the bottom, 2 acres of Bermuda grass. Again, the reason the grass is here is just to look pretty. But remember the big penstocks, the water pipes. They run right underneath this grass. Rather than have those big ugly pipes down here, they decided to cover them over with dirt, plant some grass, make it look nice. If you look right straight underneath of us, you see that channel of water that flows along the face of the dam. That's that seepage water that they're channeling out of the canyon wall so that they can channel that water on out into the river. On the far canyon wall, that green vegetation with the black streaks coming down, that's lake water that's seeping around the dam through the canyon wall. You know, there's never any sunlight in there, and the insulation that the concrete provides just keeps it at a cool temperature all the time. It's like being in a cave all the time. It just stays cool. Well, let's walk down here. We'll go into the powerhouse. Let's see Jimmy. How that? Yeah, me too. White pipe on the right with the water coming out, that's more of that seepage water. If you look right straight up on the right side, you'll see the difference. That's where we started on here with that business.
Yeah.
Each generator can produce 165 megawatts of electricity for a total of 1,320 megawatts if all they run at the same time. That's enough electricity for about 2 million people get their electricity from here at the dam. The number 1 generator is closest to the window right here. Number 8 is at the far end of the building. There's a short video that we'll watch that kind of explains how we get the electricity from water.
The process of transforming the physical energy of falling water into electrical power is one of the technological wonders that has made modern life possible. As water rushes through the turbines underneath each of the generators you see in this power plant, the force of the water causes the turbine blades to spin the generator's rotor at 150 revolutions per minute. As the whirling rotor passes the stationary coils of wire that surround it, it creates an electrical current. From the generator, the electrical current passes to transformers just outside the powerhouse, where its voltage is boosted to 345,000 volts before passing through high-tension power lines to distant cities. Like all mechanical equipment, the huge generators must be overhauled and repaired from time to time. This is a major job involving closing the penstock gate leading to the turbine and careful disassembly of the entire unit. The large overhead crane used to lift out the rotor, turbine shaft, and other components can hoist 600 tons. Periodic inspection and maintenance of each generator helps ensure its consistent performance in producing electricity.
So that's kind of the short version of how you get the electricity. If you're curious about where this electricity goes, who gets the electricity, these are the 2 million people down here on this display. Both of these are small towns in the southwest. A little bit goes to Wyoming, a little bit goes to Nebraska. You don't see the big cities on here. You don't see Vegas, Phoenix, LA. Government intended it that way. Hydroelectric power is relatively cheap power. It doesn't cost very much. Rather than just send it all to Phoenix, they decided to target these smaller towns with that cheaper power. We've got a couple extra minutes here. Feel free to kind of look around, take some pictures, ask some questions. We're going to start back up in just a couple of minutes. You guys from Gallup, you get your power from here. You're on here somewhere, yeah? When you flip on your light switch, this is where your electricity comes from. At least a portion of it. Normally, not all 8 generators run at the same time. We produce power based on need. More need at noonday than midnight, more need in the summer than in the winter. Usually there's 4 to 7 on at the same time. The display in the upper left up there shows you which ones that are making power right now. 3, 4, 5, and 8.